Well, the whys are very easy, and there's a number of them. I'm struggling more with the why nots because it really is a pretty good idea for most cases. Now, you mentioned that you have companies that you don't fit their keyhole quite as well because of what they need. What I'm finding here is that companies really aren't sure of what they need. And therefore, you have to be sort of the jack of all trades in order to meet whoever comes down the pike. But that's not the best way to go about it. You're much more on the right track by niching down and being crystal clear and specific on what that value proposition for you is. You're going to have much better success that way. And so are the companies we're serving, by the way. That's the same advice I give them. Make sure that value proposition is crystal clear and that you know what it is you need to do. Now, the hiring proposition is exactly the same. The people who need us are anybody who needs depth, experience, breadth, control, and perspective all in one individual, but doesn't necessarily want to pay for it full time. And that runs the gamut. We're almost sector agnostic in that level. But we're not size agnostic, by the way, though. Startups, very small startups, probably can't take advantage of us because there aren't enough tactics, there aren't enough budget, there's not a big enough team. We're not needed at that level just yet. You would be better off hiring us as a strategy consultant and say, okay, set up my plan and then tell me what to do. And I'll come back to you in 3 years when we've built it into something you need to manage and go from there. So very tiny companies probably don't need a CMO, which is why they don't hire them, fractional or otherwise. Very, very large enterprise companies, Google doesn't need a fractional CMO. They're huge. They've got a real guy at the real helm who's got 50 assistants and 35 team members to do all this stuff for him. And he just kind of keeps his hand on the throttle and away they go. Big enterprise companies run that way. The savings is minuscule compared to the amount of extra horsepower you get by having that guy permanently embedded and being in every meeting and walking up and down every hallway and talking to every minion in the place to gather intelligence and information all the time. We can't do that for them, so we're not that helpful. It's the middle ground where we shine. It's the folks that are between, say, 10 and $200 million that really can take advantage not only of the savings, but of the extra depth and breadth and the less management time and the less top end that needs to be done. And their founders are often have a much slimmer C-suite to start with. And adding one more can make a huge impact. Whereas if you've got 19 vice presidents already in there and are all trying to gather and get their face time and do this and that, having another full-time guy is just going to make the room more crowded. Having a part-time guy show up one day, carry the water in his briefcase and go, okay, here's how it's going to go, has much, much more impact for those middle market customers, regardless of the industry sector that they're in. I don't have a particular shining for SaaS and you do, but throw me in with any kind of membership association, any kind of professional organization, any kind of manufacturing plant, any kind of product group, and I'll be just fine because I've done those things, I've seen those things, and there's a logic to it. There's a sense to it that needs to be experienced. But I don't have to know who the big movers and shakers are to be able to pick up the phone and call them. I'll figure that out along the way.